Some breaking news in the national lead. Secret Service Director Julia Pierson stepping down after a string of disastrous security breaches. The latest revelation, a contractor who was allowed to ride in an elevator with President Obama at the CDC in Atlanta, and he had a gun on him, a complete and utter breach of protocol. Pierson's testimony on Capitol Hill yesterday, of course, did her no favors. She was pummeled by questions from members of Congress who questioned her about the fence jumper who managed to make his way across the White House lawn and into the executive mansion and then into the East Room before finally, thankfully, being stopped. We're joined now by CNN's Justice correspondent Pamela Brown and CNN's senior White House correspondent Jim Acosta and Justice reporter Evan Perez. Mr. Acosta, let us start with you. How did this all play out?
Well, according to White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest, earlier this morning, the White House had confidence in Secret Service Director Julia Pierson. But obviously things changed during the course of the day. Some senior Democratic lawmakers were starting to break ranks with the president, break ranks with this White House, and say that they did not have confidence in Julia Pierson. And then it was at a meeting earlier this afternoon with DHS Secretary Jay Johnson that Julia Pierson offered her resignation. And then following that meeting, the president called Pierson to thank her for her many years of service. And Jake, you mentioned this latest security incident that we're hearing about that happened on September 16th. During which a CDC contractor, security contractor, was riding an elevator with President Obama during the president's appearance at the agency, and that contractor was armed, violating Secret Service protocols, and the White House apparently was unaware of this until just yesterday. I asked Josh Earnest about that, and here's what he had to say. Just ask you about this latest incident to have emerged. I guess it happened prior to the fence jumping incident. The security contractor at the CDC who was in the elevator, who was armed in the presence of the president in violation of Secret Service protocols. Did Director Pierson brief the president on that incident?
Jim, I can tell you that the White House first learned of that incident yesterday afternoon, shortly before it was reported by, before it was publicly reported by a news organization.
So she did not tell him about that, or the agency did not tell the White House about that until, you didn't know about it until yesterday?
Until shortly before it was reported publicly. That's correct.
And so, Jake, obviously the White House wants to see a better record when it comes to transparency and openness and the communication lines between the White House and Secret Service. I think that is going to be Exhibit A as this internal review gets underway and as it's ongoing. Josh Earnest, they're saying during the briefing that at this point they don't want to pass too much judgment on why that did not occur, but obviously that's not how it's supposed to go.
But that is astounding. It is astounding that 2 weeks ago yesterday, a man with a gun got next to President Obama on an elevator, and the White House wasn't told about that. Even though the Secret Service found out that day, the White House was not told about it until reporters started calling about it just before they broke the story yesterday afternoon. Pamela Brown, our Justice correspondent, Congressman Jason Chaffetz, he was asking questions of Director Pierson yesterday, asking her about, he obviously knew about this other incident, and he was asking her, does she brief the president every time there's a security breach? He wanted to see if she was honest about telling the president about it, and he found out that either she lied to Congress or didn't tell the president. Now we know the truth. She didn't tell the president about this incident.
Yeah, I think it's causing a lot of outrage, Jake, and there's a lot of questions about whether she did mislead Congress and others. In light of this incident that we learned about after the hearing, notably, we found out about this latest incident before the September 19th incident involving Omar Gonzalez. And during the hearing yesterday, Pierson said that she briefs the president 100% of the time whenever there's a security breach. And she said she's only done it one time. Let's take a listen to what she had to say in this exchange.
Now, I asked you what percentage of the time do you inform the president if his personal security has in any way, shape, or form been breached?
Percent of the time, 100% of the time, we would advise the president.
You would advise the president?
Yes.
In calendar year 2014, how many times has that happened?
I have not briefed him, with the exception of one occasion, for the September 19th incident.
So there you heard it. So she says this, and then hours after this hearing, Jake, we find out about this other incident where a security contractor is in the elevator with the president with a gun on him, and the Secret Service didn't know about it until after that. And so, as you point out, you know, we heard from Josh Earnest that the White House didn't know about this. They found out through the media. she said she only briefed the president on the September 19th incident, but not the other one. So I think it raises a lot of questions, and it makes you wonder if she was too worried about covering sort of for herself and her reputation and her job rather than protecting the president.
Exactly. What's most important, protecting the job or protecting the president and his family? Let me go to Evan Perez right now. Evan, just putting yourself in the shoes of President Obama or White House Chief of Staff Dennis McDonough, you find out that she's been keeping this from you, this very troubling elevator breach. There's no other choice, right?
There's really no other choice, Jake. And, that's exactly what Jay Johnson, the Homeland Security Secretary, basically thought at the end of yesterday, because even at DHS, they've been repeatedly coming to the Secret Service and asking if there's any other incidents that they need to know about. And the Secret Service basically tells them, no, you know everything. And that's why you see in his announcement today, he is announcing that his deputy, Alejandro Mayorkas, is now going to take the reins of the internal investigation. So until now, the Secret Service has basically been investigating itself. And so that's no longer. DHS is going to take that over, and we're going to see the results of that now probably in another month, according to the Secretary. And they felt that they were being misled not only by the Secret Service, but then they were passing on misleading information to Congress and to the White House, Jake.